Welcome viewers. The political architects. Parliament opened the gate. The law that changed women's rights. The response. Parliament had heard the concerns. Now there was a much simpler question. What did Parliament do about these ideological concerns? A warning does not automatically mean that lawmakers ignored a problem. They may have considered it. They may have believed existing protections were enough. They may have been introduced safeguards. Or they may simply have decided that the concern did not outweigh the purpose of legislation. That's why this response matters. In 2013, Parliament was attempting to protect Australians from discrimination on the basis of gender identity, and that purpose was clear. But Parliament also was creating a legal framework that would eventually have to operate in the real world. Schools would use it, businesses would encounter it, courts and tribunals would interpret it, and Australians would eventually discover what happened when gender identity protections encountered boundaries based on biological sex. Parliament could not see 13 years into the future. But today, Parliament can look backwards. There are now cases, complaints, arguments, different interpretations, and disputes involving female-only spaces and sex-based boundaries. And that does not mean Parliament wanted those disputes. It does not mean anybody deliberately created them. It means something much simpler. Australia has now experienced that it did not exist. They've experienced things that did not exist when the legislation was passed. And that experience allows Parliament's original judgment to be re-examined. What did lawmakers believe would happen? What did protections they believed create? Were they sufficient? And when concerns were raised, what answer did Parliament give? Because eventually the historical argument becomes a practical one. Parliament made a decision in 2013. 13 years have passed. The law operated. The consequences accumulated. And now Australia can compare what lawmakers expected with what actually happened. And that leaves one question Parliament itself may eventually have to answer. Did the solution they created actually work? And before we can answer that, we need to examine exactly what protections Parliament put into law, because the question coming up is no longer whether safeguards existed, it's whether they were enough. And obviously, in 2026, it doesn't appear that there are any at all. And now biological women are paying a very existential price.